One point about consequences. There may be consequences about your loved one's drinking or drug use that you actually like. So for example, at least he's home in the basement when he's using and I know where he is. Or at least I don't have to have sex with him when he's passed out on the couch. Or at least I'll have my family around the table at Thanksgiving. Be aware of these and how they may be weakening the clarity of your message and your behavior as you respond to their use. The bad consequences of drinking and drug use lead people to think about their use and to consider making a change. Negative consequences can lead to a desire for a better life or to thoughts of despair, what I've called a wish or a dip. It's change talk, which is discussed in the module on treatment. You want your loved one to feel the total effects of their use. The opposite's also true. If you step in, your loved one won't feel 100% of the effects of their use, and the situation is therefore more likely to repeat. It also makes it more possible that something even worse will happen, as your loved one is emboldened by the lack of consequence of their drug use. This is very important. You may not see immediate results from your withdrawal of rewards, either the removal of yourself or by allowing the natural consequences. But it is critically important to do so, to discourage further and possibly more dangerous use. You may need to be patient and, above all else, consistent in applying these principles. The situation may get worse for a time before these principles take hold. Patience and consistency are paramount. Let's listen to the story of Judy about her son.
My son Joey is 19 and still lives with me. When he used to come home late and high, something would take over in me. I'd be furious, pacing for hours, calling his friends, wondering whether it was too early to call the police. I knew he was getting high and driving around in that truck of his. I just knew it. When he would finally come through that door, I'd let him have it. I couldn't help it. Don't you know what I've been going through? How could you put me through this? Couldn't you have the decency to at least call? I'd slam around the house, go to the kitchen, pull out his dinner, go on with it, Don't you know what's going to happen to you? You could die, you're going to be a dropout, a bum. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? And sometimes Joey would say nothing. Other times he'd be in a foul mood and then we'd go at it. He'd scream back, "Oh, just leave me alone. I'd be fine if you just leave me alone." You know how kids talk to you sometimes, yeah? He'd tell me that I was the problem. A couple of times the fights got so bad, he'd stomp out of the house and drive off high, and in that truck. Allies in Recovery suggested I make a few changes the next time Joey was high and came home late. The first thing was to get a hold of myself before Joey got home. Well, the situation had happened, a lot of times before, and the chances were good that he was using and that he would make it home. I had to keep my head from spinning out into all that negativity, you know what I'm saying? I had to take it one step at a time. The first step was to better prepare myself for his coming home. If he didn't come home by 3 a.m., then I could allow myself to worry that something worse had happened. I had to look at what my mind was telling me. I had to assess what was true in that moment and what was me spinning out into that extreme disaster scenario, like in the movies. I had to depersonalize what Joey was doing. You can't take it personally, not take his actions like they were somehow directed at me. Poor kid, sick with addiction. It made him self-absorbed and unable to consider anyone else, period. Yeah, accepting this, at least for now, was the key to keeping calm. So, I got a little calmer, and then I could behave differently when he got home. I greeted him at the front door as usual, only I had turned off all the lights in the house. The house was cold and dark. I told him, when I was real calm, that I was glad to see him home safe. and that I had been frantic with worry. You know, we could talk about this later. I wished him a good night. I went back to my bedroom and shut the door. That was not easy to do. But there was no fighting that evening, no one to fight with. Joey had no reason to jump back in his truck. He also got no dinner. He was left standing at the front door, wondering what just happened, unable to blame me for anything. He was left to think, possibly for just an instant, that maybe he wasn't so pleased with himself. It was late. He'd spent all his money. He probably wouldn't be able to get up to work in the morning. I know he was wondering what just happened. Is Mom pulling back, giving up? Has she stopped caring? It was such a different way for me to react.
Removing rewards, removing yourself, and allowing natural consequences is the stance to take when somebody is using. I'm not underestimating how hard this is. If your father is about to make a jerk of himself at the company Christmas party and it won't endanger his job, perhaps he's the owner, then stand back and let him do it. How awfully embarrassing for you. Yet how important it is that your father gets that social feedback that will cause him embarrassment the next day. You just don't know what will cause somebody to want to stop using. There's a lot of talk in the recovery community of needing to hit bottom. I don't fully buy this. The idea of bottom is that your loved one needs to be homeless, penniless, friendless, awaiting trial for something. This is indeed the case for some people with addiction issues. But for many people I have seen recover over the years, the deciding factor is something much smaller. I remember interviewing a client in a federally funded project I was evaluating. He talked about the countless times he had been to detox, and then he described the last time he went. The sky was gray, he was feeling sick, it was cold out. As he walked towards the clinic door, he was struck by how pathetic he was, how sick of this he was, what a pattern going to detox had become in his life. Something overcame him that day that was stronger than it had ever been. He was done. He had been 2 years without a drink or a drug when I sat down to interview him. No one had stepped in to keep him from running out of money. No one had stepped in to keep him from being sick and on the street. That was his bottom of sorts. Nothing dramatic, just alone with his thoughts and a moment of insight in his life. This module also has to do with taking care of yourself. There's a good chance you have tried helping, fixing, cajoling, warning, threatening, and more. It's exhausting, and yet it hasn't worked. Save your energy and apply it where it counts. Spend your energy surrounding your loved one with the proper environment. When they're using, remove rewards, remove yourself, and allow natural consequences. When they're not using, reward. The rest of the time, put your energy towards making your own life the best that it can be. Module 7 on hard emotions, the sanctuary, and the supplement on this site provides you with links and videos that may help you turn your focus back on yourself. It's so easy to have lost that self-focus when someone you love is sick with addiction. But it's imperative that you take the best care of yourself and for your loved one. One final point, stay safe. We can't say it enough. If not enabling and allowing natural consequences at any point causes you to feel unsafe, whether it is the threat of being hit, of having something thrown at you, stop what you're doing. Go to the safety module and read up on de-escalating techniques and what to do when you feel unsafe. Your safety is so important, and it comes before any effort to help your loved one into treatment and recovery.